Welcome back to Big Feelings Lab. I'm Shul, and today we're having a conversation that I know will resonate with so many of you. We're talking about narcissistic parents and spouses, how to recognize the patterns, how to protect yourself, and how to start healing. I'm joined by two incredible survivors. First, we have Michael, who grew up with a narcissistic father and is now 8 years into his healing journey, and Lisa, who escaped a narcissistic marriage 3 years ago and is rebuilding her life. Both have agreed to share their experiences to help others who might still be trapped or newly free. Michael, Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. This is hard to talk about, but necessary.
Agreed. If our stories help even one person recognize what's happening to them, it's worth it.
Let's start with recognition. Michael, what were the signs with your father that you didn't understand as abuse until later?
Growing up, I thought all fathers were like mine. He wasn't physically abusive, so I believed we had a normal family. But looking back, everything was about him, his achievements, his needs, his version of reality. I remember getting accepted to my top choice college. His first words weren't congratulations, they were, well, I pulled some strings to make that happen. You're welcome. He literally couldn't let me have my own achievement. He had to make it about him.
That must have been crushing.
It was, but I didn't know it then. I just felt empty, like nothing I did was actually mine. And if I didn't give him credit, he'd rage or give me the silent treatment for days.
The silent treatment is such a common narcissistic tactic. Lisa, did you experience that in your marriage?
Oh God, yes. My ex-husband could go days, sometimes weeks, without speaking to me if I disappointed him. And the worst part? I never knew what I'd done wrong. I'd spend those days frantically trying to figure out what I did, apologizing for things I didn't even do, just to get him to acknowledge me again.
That sounds exhausting and crazy making.
It was deliberate crazy making. Now I understand it was a control tactic. The silent treatment trained me to avoid doing anything that might upset him, even when I had no idea what those things were. So I just tried to be perfect and invisible.
That invisible thing, I felt that too. With my dad, I learned to make myself small. Don't need too much, don't shine too bright, don't have problems. Just exist quietly in the background unless he needed me to make him look good.
Let's talk about gaslighting, because that's such a key pattern. Lisa, can you give us an example?
Where do I start? My ex would say something cruel, really cutting, personal attacks. Hours later, I'd bring it up, and he'd say, I never said that. You're so dramatic. This is why we have problems. You make things up to play victim. I started recording conversations because I was so convinced I was losing my mind. When I played back a recording proving what he said, he got enraged and accused me of being psychotic for recording him. I couldn't win.
That's a perfect example of how narcissists twist reality. Michael, did you experience this with your father?
All the time. He'd make promises, break them, then deny he ever made them. Or he'd tell a story about something that happened, and I'd remember it completely differently, but he'd get so angry if I challenged his version that I learned to just accept his reality as the truth. I actually have vivid memories of events that my therapist has helped me understand probably didn't happen the way my father said. He rewrote so much of our family history that I don't trust my own childhood memories anymore.
That's one of the most insidious effects, not being able to trust your own memory. How did each of you start to wake up to what was happening?
For me, it was getting distance. I moved across the country for work at 25. Away from him, I started to see how anxious I was all the time, how I apologized for everything, how I couldn't make simple decisions without second guessing myself. A coworker made a comment about how I apologized even when I wasn't wrong, and something clicked. I started therapy, and my therapist asked about my relationship with my father. That's when I learned about narcissistic personality disorder.
Mine was more dramatic. My ex had an affair, and when I found out, he blamed me. Said I wasn't attentive enough, wasn't attractive enough, was too focused on the kids. He made me apologize for his affair. I was sitting in my car after that conversation, and I just saw it. Like suddenly the fog lifted and I thought, what the hell am I doing? Why am I apologizing for him cheating on me? That clarity lasted long enough for me to call a lawyer.
Lisa, what happened when you told him you wanted a divorce?
Classic narcissistic rage. He cycled through all the stages. First, love bombing. I'll change. I love you. We have kids. Think of our family. Then anger. You'll never find anyone else. You're nothing without me. I'll make sure you regret this. Then playing victim, telling everyone I was crazy, having a mental breakdown, breaking up our family over nothing.
The smear campaign.
Exactly. He told mutual friends, our families, even went to my workplace to express concern about my mental state. He was trying to isolate me and control the narrative so that when I left, no one would believe me.
Michael, did you experience a smear campaign when you distanced yourself from your father?
Yes, but it was subtler. He'd tell other family members I was too busy for family now, or I'd changed since moving away. He played the sad, abandoned father whose ungrateful son forgot where he came from. My aunts would call saying things like, "Your father is so hurt. He just wants a relationship with you. Why are you being so cold?" They had no idea what living with him was actually like because he performed differently for outsiders.
That public versus private persona. Can you both talk about that?
My dad was charming in public, funny, generous, charismatic. People loved him. When I started talking about my childhood, even my own siblings initially said, "Dad wasn't that bad. You're exaggerating." That made me doubt myself all over again. Maybe I was the problem. But my therapist helped me understand that narcissists are often excellent performers. The mask is part of the disorder.
Same with my ex. Our friends thought he was the perfect husband, attentive, romantic, successful. What they didn't see was how he spoke to me behind closed doors, how he controlled every aspect of my life, how he made me account for every minute and every dollar. When I left, people were shocked. Some didn't believe me. That was almost as traumatic as the marriage itself, having your reality denied by people you trusted.
Let's talk about the impact this had on you. Michael, how did growing up with a narcissistic father affect your adult life?
I was a people pleaser to an extreme. I couldn't say no to anyone. I stayed in jobs I hated, friendships that were one-sided, relationships where I was constantly trying to prove my worth. I had no idea who I actually was outside of what others needed from me. I also struggled with imposter syndrome. Nothing ever felt like my own achievement. I was always waiting for someone to expose me as a fraud, even when I'd legitimately earned something. That came from my father taking credit for everything I did.
And relationships?
I attracted narcissists unconsciously because that dynamic felt familiar. My first serious relationship was with someone very similar to my father, charming to others, cruel to me in private, constantly making me prove my love. It took hitting rock bottom in that relationship to commit to therapy.
Lisa, what about you? How did the marriage affect you?
I lost myself completely. I couldn't make decisions, not even what to cook for dinner, without anxiety. I second guessed everything. I apologized constantly. I believed I was worthless, unlovable, and fundamentally broken. He convinced me that no one else would ever want me, that I should be grateful he put up with me. By the end, I was so isolated from friends and family, so financially dependent on him, so beaten down emotionally, that I truly believed I couldn't survive without him.
What finally gave you the strength to leave?
My daughter. She was 6, and one day she said, "Mommy, why are you always sad?" That broke me. I realized I was modeling this horrible relationship for her. She was learning that this is what love looks like. I couldn't let her grow up thinking that's what she deserved.
That's powerful. Let's talk about healing. Michael, what has your healing journey looked like?
It's been slow and non-linear. First, I had to accept that my father wouldn't change. I spent years hoping he'd have some epiphany, apologize, become the father I needed. That hope kept me trapped in the cycle. Once I accepted who he actually is, not who I wished he could be, I could grieve. and that grief was intense. I wasn't just grieving my father, I was grieving my entire childhood, the parent I never had, the innocence I lost.
How did you handle the grief?
Therapy, a lot of therapy. EMDR specifically helped with the trauma responses. I also joined a support group for adult children of narcissists. Hearing other people's stories helped me feel less alone and less crazy. I had to learn basic things that most people learn in childhood: how to trust my own judgment, how to have needs, how to set boundaries. It felt like reparenting myself.
Are you in contact with your father now?
Very minimal contact. I went no contact for about 2 years to focus on my healing. Now I see him at major family events only, and I use what's called the gray rock method. I'm as boring and emotionally unresponsive as a gray rock. I don't share personal information, I don't engage in arguments, I just exist neutrally. It's not ideal, but it protects me while maintaining some family connection. Everyone has to find their own boundary that works.
Lisa, what about your healing?
The first year after leaving was the hardest. He made the divorce as difficult as possible, fought custody, hid assets, dragged everything out, and I had moments of doubt. Did I overreact? Maybe I should go back. At least I wasn't alone.
That doubt is so common. The narcissist's voice becomes your inner voice.
Exactly. I had to actively combat it. I kept a journal where I wrote down the worst incidents from the marriage. When I'd doubt myself, I'd read it and remember, oh, right, that's why I left. I also did a lot of work on rebuilding my identity. I didn't know what I liked, what I wanted, who I was outside of being his wife. I had to discover myself at 38 years old.
That must have been scary but also liberating.
Both terrifying and exhilarating. I started small, choosing my own clothes without worrying if he'd approve, watching shows he hated, reconnecting with friends he'd isolated me from. Each small act of autonomy felt revolutionary.
What about dating? Has either of you worried about repeating patterns?
Absolutely. I was terrified I'd end up with another narcissist because that's what felt normal to me. I actually took 3 years off from dating to focus on therapy and understanding my patterns. When I did start dating again, I had a checklist of green flags and red flags. I watched how people treated service workers, how they talked about exes, how they handled conflict. I ran at the first sign of love bombing or boundary violations.
I'm still not dating. I don't trust my picker yet. I'm focused on showing my kids what a healthy, peaceful home feels like. They're in therapy too, processing what they witnessed in the marriage, but I'm learning what I deserve. I know now that love shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells. It shouldn't require me to disappear to make someone else comfortable. When I'm ready to date, I'll have much clearer boundaries.
What would both of you tell someone who's currently living with a narcissistic parent or spouse?
First, trust yourself. If you feel crazy, if you're constantly questioning your reality, if nothing you do is ever enough, trust that instinct. You're not imagining it. Second, document everything. Keep a record because they will gaslight you. Having proof helps you stay grounded in reality. Third, build a support system outside of the relationship. The narcissist has probably isolated you, but reach back out to old friends, find a therapist, join online support groups. You need people who see you clearly.
I'd add, start planning your exit, even if it takes time. Open your own bank account, keep important documents somewhere safe, know your legal rights. Financial and logistical dependence keeps so many people trapped. Also, stop trying to make them understand. Stop explaining yourself. Stop hoping this will be the conversation that finally gets through. They either can't or won't understand, and you're just giving them more ammunition.
What about people who say, but they're your parent, or, but you're married? You took vows?
Those people either had healthy parents or they're in denial about their own toxic relationships. Being related to someone doesn't give them permission to abuse you. Love doesn't require you to destroy yourself.
And marriage vows go both ways. Honor, cherish, respect. My ex did none of those things. I don't owe loyalty to someone who systematically destroyed my sense of self. Leaving was the most respectful thing I could do for myself and my children.
Any final thoughts or messages of hope?
Recovery is possible. 8 years out, I have healthy friendships. I'm in a loving relationship. I trust myself. I have boundaries, and I like who I am. None of that seemed possible when I was in the You Can Heal. You can learn what healthy love looks like. You can break the cycle, but it starts with recognizing the patterns and choosing yourself. Thick of it.
I want people to know that leaving is hard, but staying is harder. Yes, there will be challenges, financial, logistical, emotional, but waking up without that constant anxiety, without walking on eggshells, without someone tearing you down, that peace is worth everything. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for how well you perform. You deserve relationships where you can be fully human, mistakes and all. You deserve peace.
Michael, Lisa, thank you both for your courage in sharing these experiences. I know this will help countless people feel less alone and more empowered to seek help. To our listeners, if you're dealing with a narcissistic parent or spouse, please know you're not crazy, you're not too sensitive, you're not the problem, and healing is possible. Resources are in the show notes, including crisis lines, therapy directories, and support groups specifically for survivors of narcissistic abuse. In the next episode, we're continuing this conversation with practical strategies for going no contact and handling the guilt that comes with it. Until then, remember, your reality is valid, your needs matter, and you deserve so much better. This has been Big Feelings Lab. Until next time, take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.